Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast, joined by the man that has the job that everybody wants. He gets to sell travel packages, he gets to travel, and oh, by the way, he gets to be on the inside of U of A basketball, the great Ryan Hansen. Hello, Rhino.
Mike, Luke, it's good to see you. Good to be on. And that must mean if I'm on with you and it's a little crisp and cool outside, it means one thing, and that's Arizona basketball, baby.
All right, now we got to fill people in first. Rhino, you also have, let's talk about your day job as well, because you have one of the coolest things ever. Where can people find you, and where did you travel this off season, my
You
friend?
bet. So I'm the president of Bon Voyage Travel here in Tucson. Been around 48 years in business. I joined 13 years ago and love planning vacations. So the best way to find me and find us is bvtravel.com. So bvtravel.com. That's where it all starts. And this summer, I happened to take a cruise to Iceland and Greenland, of all places. But why wouldn't I? If I'm in Arizona, 100 degrees, why would I not go to Iceland?
And Greenland is ice and Iceland is green, correct?
Exactly. And Greenland was pretty sparse, but boy, Iceland is an amazing destination. Black sandy beaches, glaciers, waterfalls, a great city in Reykjavik, all in one day. Like you can do all that in a day. You can't do that anywhere in the world in one day.
Right now, let me ask you this: with it, when it comes to your office, do you have one like the goat with the sloping down roof?
I do not anymore, but my first 8 years on staff with Lute, when I was the director of ops, I had one of those. We called them slanted suites that were right underneath the stadium there in McHale. So what an amazing experience that was. So you didn't stand up fast, but boy, couldn't be anywhere else.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk some Arizona basketball,
Let's
Rhino.
go.
Arizona, I believe this is Tommy Lloyd's deepest team. And I'll be honest with you. I love the first eight. I had a good idea about that. But this Henri Veesaar, this new and improved Henri Veesaar looked really, really good.
Yeah, when you see him in person and knew where he came from 2 years ago, right? I mean, he's been on campus for 2 years. The redshirt year did him well, and I don't just mean in he finally has an opportunity to play now. It's because he put on great weight. He really increased his strength, and you can see it in his upper body and his lower body. I think he looked comfortable too as a Wildcat. His freshman year, he just was never comfortable. I think the size differential on the weight side of things, he was knocked off the block. He was moving too fast. I never really settled in. And I know it's two exhibition games. I realize the competition. So let's take that all into account. When you watch him and you see what he's
Rhino, you cut out there for a second. You went, can't, let's see here. I cannot hear Rhino. Interesting. Uh, let's see here. All right. Yeah. It
check,
went away
check.
first. Yep, there you go. There you go. You were back,
All right.
Rhino. Yes,
All right, he's
exactly.
back.
Yep.
I can't believe I went quiet on Henri Veesaar. I was just
Well,
talking about physically, he's just changed his whole body, and that changes everything for him and puts him in a position to be on the floor. And what a bright spot.
a massive bright spot. Now let's talk about the newcomers here. One thing that I love about Tommy Lloyd is every single year he's taken inventory of the roster. There's been certain things that I need to be able to be a little bit better at. I need on the roster. And keep in mind, too, people, this is his fourth year as being a head coach. I think people forget that with as wildly successful as he's been. But let's talk about some of the newcomers. Trey Townsend. I love Trey Townsend. Here's what I've always felt. And this is Keyshawn Johnson's in the NBA. He was great. So this is certainly not a dismissal of anything. But I love guys that can get the ball, and when things kind of start breaking down come March, they can get their own. Trey Townsend can do that. And he can, I think what's really surprised people is he's able to hit you from all three levels. I mean, you have three-pointer. Obviously, you've seen the rebounding around the bucket. When games slow down, I need guys that can get to the free throw line. I'm very excited about Trey Townsend. Very excited.
Yeah, what you're seeing is exactly what I've seen, and we saw it last year. In fact, 4 years straight, really, at Oakland, where he played against high-level competition, was able to get his own. And the three levels of scoring makes him so multi-dimensional. I love him with the high post series that we could run. Have a high-low option when Motiejus Krivas gets back, or even Tobe Awaka can be effective in the low block. So as a passer, he's very good. but he's even better of a scorer, and he understands how to take the jump shot when it's open. He can put the ball on the deck against a bigger guy. He can take a smaller guy into the block. He's got both hands in the low block. He's going to be extremely productive for Arizona, not just a good player with great experience. I could see him, and I don't want to put numbers on it, but I mean, the 15-8 area, it doesn't feel out of touch for what he could provide.
I told Jack Murphy in the offseason something that I'm very curious. I think that he's going to be second in the team in assists. I said it right there. I'm going 3.5 assists for Trey Townsend. He's incredibly cerebral. Also, I think the thing that people forget, though, about guys like this is they're always like, oh, he's from a mid-major. It doesn't really matter. Here's what I care about. What do you do against the big-time competition?
Right.
Sean Miller, obviously not a guy known for having weak teams, talked about after the game last year. He said, we just didn't have anybody physically that could handle him. Then you look at it against NC State, 31-13. Against Kentucky, 17-11. Illinois, I think 21-8. Against the best teams out there, Rhino, he stepped up. And that's not a coincidence. People knew what he was doing. People knew where he was going to be. And he still was able to do it. Like I said, I think this kid is going to be I think he can be an all-conference player. I really do.
Yeah, he was a primary scorer, the primary option for Oakland. They had the great shooter that obviously took some heat off of him, during many games. But there's more weapons at Arizona, I think, that can help him have more opportunities. He won't be double teamed as much because of what we can deploy on the floor. I like your idea of second on the team in assists. And here's why. The ball is going to be going through him a lot.
Right.
Because of that high post series, the high low opportunity he's going to have. He's going to touch it a lot in the Tommy offense of the free flowing nature. But then I can see Tommy running a lot of sets. And that's where, when things break down, NCAA tournament, right? You got to get a bucket, and you need somebody mano a mano who can score or facilitate. I think he adds an extra dimension to Arizona. Caleb Love's still going to be an alpha for the Wildcats, but having someone else take that pressure off and give you a different look as a high-low or a post option, Trey Townsend is maybe the most exciting newcomer. And I put that in maybe because there's another one I'm really high on.
Oh, we're going to get to some of those ones. Now I want to talk about a holdover. Jaden Bradley. Now listen, everybody talks about Ryan Hansen dropping a three-pointer on Reggie Geary. This was obviously something, by the way, it's funny. I've run into Reggie like 7 times in the last 2 months, and I bring up 2 things to him always. Carter Bryant's dad talking about a dunk he had at Mater Dei, and Ryan Hansen dropping the 3 Steve Kerr style in his face.
Keep it alive.
But I've always thought this, and you were obviously, front and center seeing this. When you have a point guard that can set the tone out to 40, 45 feet, full court defensively, it makes things so much easier for you from being able to take chances shooting passing lanes. And I mean, you were obviously front and center at the Clemson game. He was stealing so many passes, blocking so many shots that they just started calling fouls on him because they couldn't believe that he was doing that much. Rhino, there hasn't been a point guard like this here in quite a while, probably since TJ McConnell, to be quite frank with you. From a defensive perspective, I am ecstatic to see what he can do. And I'm saying right now, first team all Big 12, and I don't understand, or a first team all Big 12 defense. And honestly, I don't know why he can't be a Jamal Shed type from Houston as a junior. Averaged, 12, 5, and 4 with first team all defense. Buying a lot of stock in Jaden Bradley.
Yeah, and if there was stock available, I would buy as well. For everything you said, it does start with him on the defensive end, which that doesn't bother me at all. I love it. He's a pest, like a TJ McConnell, but he's got length like a Reggie. He is on the precipice, right? I need to see one more year of work for him. He's in the precipice of entering into that hallowed ground of best perimeter defenders of the modern era because of his ability to get up in you. He's got enough quickness to not let you drive past him. His hands are exceptional.
Yes.
We saw it in the Dayton game. He had versatility. He could defend the guards. He could defend the bigs. And he had great hands in knocking the ball away as a primary defender, also as a secondary defender. But his evolution offensively, Mike, is really key for Arizona. And I know the second exhibition game, again, competition notwithstanding, really showed me he's ready to take that next step, in addition to how he finished last year.
There's some guys that came in here and you could try, they could work their butt off and they just weren't ever going to be really great shooters. I always think about Shakur. He kind of had the weird
Yeah.
thing. He could try as hard as he wanted. It's kind of like a guy that practices golf 8 hours a day, like myself, and never gets any better because it is what it is. Jaden Bradley does not have a broken form on his shot at all. When you watch it, it doesn't look like it's a prayer going in. And I thought it was interesting again in the Clemson game when everything kind of bogged down. He was the one that he made that huge three. He got to the bucket. I think there's this idea that he's kind of this, this elementary level skill guy from an offensive perspective. I think it's going to show people that that's far from the case, Rhino.
Yeah, shot selection's key for him from the 3-point line. He can't fall in love and try to, I'm going to prove myself to be a 3-point shooter. If he selects good shots, which he did that all of last year, I think he's going to be a reasonable 3-point percentage shooter. He could be a 40% 3-point shooter with good shots. What I
Right.
love about him, you ready? I'm going to drop a John Wooden quote on you. One of John Wooden's famous
Can I guess
quotes
it?
was,
Can I guess the quote?
yeah, go for it. Guess.
Be quick, but don't hurry.
Well, that's one, and I love that. You ready for this? Slowness to quickness.
Mhm.
He was all about change of pace.
Right.
Wooden loved speed. He loved quickness, but it was about your ability to change pace. And that is where Jaden, you watch him in the full court or even on the perimeter, he's got the first step to blow by you, but then the uncanny Kyrie Irving level
Yes.
of stopping and slowing down, letting the defender slide by and finishing. It's not just about getting to the rim, it's how do you get to the rim. And I love his intermediate game and the ability to finish in and around the basket that allows us to see him as a 12-point scorer in the Big 12.
Hey, so when we were at media day, Caleb Love stopped me, and guess what he said to me? Hey, YouTube guy. That made my day. That made my day.
You'll take it.
Caleb Love knows who I am. Salute emoji, Caleb Love.
Hey,
That made my
Circle
day.
K guy,
Yeah.
YouTube guy, back the A guy, you'll
Yeah.
take any and
A
all.
man of a man of many cloaks. But let me ask you this, Rhino. With Caleb Love, I think that having more talent around here is going to be exceptional for him because let's be honest. I mean, last year he was kind of one of the only guys that could really break you down, that could get a bucket. And I thought he was kind of unfairly chastised. Now, this year, here's what I want from him. Everybody knows that he can score. I am looking something more like 15, 16 points per game, but maybe 44, 45% from the field and 6 free throws a game. That's what I'm looking for.
Love it.
6 free throws a game because listen, he's not as stiff. He can get to the basket, and I think that will open things up for him. That's what I want. 6 free throws per game, 44, 45%. It all takes it from there. What say you?
No question. He, as an individual, what does he need to do to get to the next level? Well, everything you just said that will help the team, and that is be more efficient. It's not about scoring 18 a night again or getting to 20 a night and showing, look, I've grown my points per game total. It's about being more efficient across the board. So where do efficiencies come in? It's about field goal percentages. It's about 3-point percentage. That needs to continue to elevate. It's about getting to the free throw line with frequency, and that means getting downhill. We know he has the ability to finish at the rim. It's just not settling for that
Yes.
step back three. Dribble, 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 step back three. Use your dribble to get somewhere. I also want to see him be a better defender. I think with the lineup, and you're looking at Jaden and KJ as the starters on the perimeter, he's odd man out if he's not careful defensively. And I
Yeah.
think he notices and recognizes that. He doesn't want to get picked on as the weak link on the perimeter. He has the physical tools to be a better defender. Those are the things that I want to see him elevate. I could care less if it's 15 points instead of 18 points per
Right.
game because there's more offense around him.
Exactly. And athletically, he takes a backseat to nobody.
Mhm.
He really doesn't. So there's a high tide raises all defensive ships. How about that,
Oh
Ryan
wow, that's
Hansen?
a new one. I
Yeah.
know the regular analogy, but to,
Yeah.
to add the defensive piece, that was
Yes.
poetic.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very good. Okay, now let's talk Tobe Awaka. Now I got a story for you. Did I ever tell you when I discovered Tobe Awaka on his recruiting visit?
No, I'd
All
love to
right.
hear it.
All right, this is good. I've told this story like 8 times, so everybody that's listening, bear with me. So I was at Culinary Dropout, and I see Murph, and Murph's ignoring me, and trying. And then there's a player with him, and I'm like, this looks like a recruiting visit. So I took a picture, and then I sent it, and I said, Murph, who is this? and he's pretending that he doesn't see me, this and that. We found out within 5 minutes it was Tobe Awaka. This kid, listen, man, I mean, this is the epitome of what you want in the Big 12. This feels like, every single Houston big man feels like they're Tobe Awaka. And, like, they're all 6'7", 225 pounds, a very solid base. This kid's good, man. This kid's really good.
An exceptional piece, right? When
Yes.
you look at what Arizona needed, he was absolutely that. So he's a great chess piece. I want to keep our expectations reasonable for Tobe.
Agreed.
Some people are like, "Oh, he's Michael Wright,"
No,
because of the
no, no.
physical comparison. When you look at him, not in the game sense, so he's not going to get you 15-8. That's just not where he is today. He does have the potential to build on that physical body that he has. But boy, from a banging, from a physicality, from a grab a tough rebound, I want to see for him. I think his next growth opportunity here with Tommy is being able to be a reliable scorer if need be. Can
Agreed.
he get you a bucket in the low block? Can he get a rebound putback against the elites? He's going to get it most nights. When I say
Right.
the elites, it's the Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas, Houston group. That grouping of long, strong, big, athletic guys. Toby's athletic, don't get me wrong, but he's not a high riser. He's
Right.
not a, finish way above the rim every night. He can
Right.
dunk, he can finish at the rim. That's not a problem. But just that night in and night out, can he get his 8 and 6? Or he may be 8 and 8 when it
Right.
comes down to it. But can he get you those 8 points in some ways that you're not going to necessarily call plays for him? So I want to keep that expectation reasonable for him. Not to say keeping the expectation reasonable means that I'm not in love with what he brings to the team, because it's much needed, and especially going into the Big 12.
Well, let me bring this part up too. I don't think people understand sometimes, if you didn't see how good Michael Wright was. Michael Wright came in against out of Farragut Academy. He came in against Tennessee in that first game of the season where Jason Terry had like the 32 on but Michael Wright was already, even though Gene was starting, you could tell that Michael Wright was going to be the starter within 4 or 5 games. Pac-10 freshman of the year. He came in at 15-8 and he left at 15-8. And I don't mean that in a negative light whatsoever, but he came in almost maxed, which was a really, really impressive thing. I don't think people in hindsight realize sometimes just how good. When we're saying that I don't want Michael Wright expectations on him, that's not to dismiss
Right.
Tobe. That's to say that Michael Wright was a bad boy.
Yeah, when you think of skilled four-man that just brought it every game,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, night in and night out, you knew what you had. And rest in peace, Michael Wright.
Yes.
To give him that nod, it is high praise. And when I think of Mike Wright, uh, every game, every day, this is about the most expression you would see out of him. If he made a mistake, this is what he would do to the bench.
Every
That's
single
it,
time.
like nothing
Every single
else.
time. Right.
To even see him crack a smile would be rare for him. But if he made a mistake, there was no pouting. It was, I'm going to own it. I'm pointing to the bench. Next play,
Yes.
and so high praise for Mike Wright. But physically, when you look at what
They're
Tobe can
built
bring to
similarly.
Arizona,
Yeah.
they're very similar size wise. And Arizona hasn't had that type of a player in some time that I can really remember in the recent past for the
Right.
Wildcats that's going to see tons of minutes. I think when Mo Krivas is back healthy, probably deserves and should be, when he's ready to go, to be that starting 5 man. And I think Trey Townsend, you're going to have a hard time keeping him off the floor. So I think that's your primary guys. But boy, Veesaar and
Yeah.
Tobe, that 4 man rotation, wow, that's really skilled. It's physical.
They can
There's
shoot.
not a huge drop off. You can stretch the floor with those guys. You've got rim protection with Mo Krivas. You've got the ability, and I've talked about this on the broadcast, how Arizona can defend ball screen action. Will be able to be more of an aggressive style versus the drop
Right.
coverage with Ballo. That changes Arizona defensively and gives us a different level. I'm excited about the bigs.
All right, let's talk about Mo Krivas first, because a lot of people, I think if you just look at it, and again, Umar Ballo, I think Tommy Lloyd, and this is to Umar Ballo's credit as well, he maximized Umar Ballo,
For
and Umar
sure.
Ballo maximized himself, so you got to give him a lot of credit. I think with Mo Krivas, and again, this isn't a slight towards Umar, Mo Krivas has a little bit of an extra. I'll put it to you like this. Basketball comes easier to Mo Krivas. How about that? Just from a skill back to the basket, basketball comes easier to Mo Krivas. And, everybody wishes Umar the greatest. He's getting paid. Kid, great kid. But man, it's easy for me to see why, Tommy is very excited about what Mo Krivas can bring, because basketball, like I said, comes easy for him.
Yeah, I'll start with Balo real quick.
Mhm.
What a great human being. He absolutely eclipsed, I think, all of our expectations. When he came with Tommy, there was a low bar.
Yes.
He raised it. He not only hit it, but he raised the ceiling to what I thought his potential could truly be. Arizona will miss him. There will be things that we miss about Umar Balo's ability to run the floor, pin guys early in possessions, get you foul trouble on their other bigs because he just buried you. I've
Mhm.
used this line a few times. Umar Balo did his work early. When he was
Yes.
effective, he would beat you before he caught the ball. It was
And
over when he
seal.
caught it.
Yeah.
Mo Krivas, I agree with you. He's more fluid basketball player. He's got better size than Balo, which is amazing to say that he has
Yeah.
better size. He's just more skilled. That Euro teaching that he was exposed to in his youth, ability to finish with both hands. His best offensive plays will be after he catches the ball with his back to the basket. His growth area is doing work
Yeah.
early, getting a foot advantage, sealing guys. But I love the opportunity in a late shot clock, late game situation of a true post up, a true Mo Krivas, make yourself big, dump it in the block, let him go to work over either
Mhm.
hand. I think that's for him the level for Arizona that's going to be an improvement.
Well, that's the thing too. When you watch him, any guy that comes in that has a counter and then a counter going left or right with the hook, that's generally something a lot of freshmen don't have. And so that's something that immediately kind of caught my attention about him. And what people didn't understand, I mean, you would go to you here at practice, he can shoot the ball. People
Yeah,
need to understand he can really shoot the ball. This isn't just something where it's like, oh yeah, like there was a video that went viral of Umar shooting a three and somehow it went in. Umar can't shoot. And that's no
yeah.
slight towards Umar. Krivas can shoot. So that's going to be a fascinating part to see what they do with all this.
Yeah, excited for him to get healthy. Because again, you look at the roster as it's constructed, and what we've seen so far is exciting. But to think, wow, Mo Krivas could possibly be their second best offensive weapon, maybe third
Right.
with Trey Townsend. I think is probably number two right now because of his
Mhm.
experience. That's pretty thrilling to think that your third best offensive weapon has yet to play. Defensively, changes the rim defensively for you. I'm excited about him, want him to be healthy though, right? So anybody that's
For sure.
concerned and sitting here, why are we not seeing Mo? Relax. It's okay. It's great opportunity for Henri, Tobe, the other guys to get time. It's okay.
I've seen Mo scooting around on one of those little birds on 6th Street a couple different times. So I think Mo will be okay.
It's
That's
coming.
again, I'm not a doctor, certainly, but I think it'll be all right. KJ Lewis. KJ Lewis is the epitome. And when I look at this team, I think this is Tommy Lloyd's best team equipped to go into the Big 12. Because I think what happened with Arizona, and again, any school, you kind of sleepwalk because I mean, there are so many games where there's nobody there or the team in front of you is not very good. Having a guy that is emotional or like KJ, physical, having him, he is the epitome of what you're looking at going to the Big 12. And quite frankly, I think this is the best equipped team that Tommy Lloyd has had, 1 through 5, then 1 through 9 to go into the Big 12.
Yeah, let's talk about KJ. The exciting part for him, that freshman to sophomore leap, not only an opportunity that he's going to have, but in his understanding of how to be a great college basketball player, how to use the physical tools that God has given him from length, athleticism, good size. He carved out the niche defensively early in his career here last year, has expanded his game offensively. Now I want to see it expand more. Can he be a 40% 3 point shooter and not worry about volume? Again, it's
Right.
about efficiency. Can he continually get to the rim? Can he fill a little bit of a void of where Pella Larson gave you that inside out action at that swing 3 man spot? I think KJ has more upside defensively than Pella, and I think long term because of his athleticism. I mean, this is no
Agreed.
knock on Pella. He's on a stinking roster
He's on
right
an
now in
NBA
the
roster.
NBA.
He made it.
he's there, right? And he deserves it.
Right.
KJ's got a pretty, I think maybe a higher ceiling than possibly Pella from an athletic standpoint. It's going to be hard to match Pella's emotional quotient and intelligence quotient, right? The EQ,
Right.
IQ that Pella brought to the floor. But KJ is perfectly suited for a Big 12 matchup because he's a two-way player. He's physical. He's not going to back down. He's a little bit of a dog
Yes.
mentality. And you look, and I watched the Houston Texas A&M exhibition game a couple nights ago. Oof,
Yeah.
Houston looks rugged
Yeah.
again, and
Mhm.
that's gonna be a tough one when the Wildcats face them. I feel better about it because of a guy like KJ Lewis.
All right. Now we're going to get into the player that I think is the best NBA prospect on the team.
Let's
But
go.
but first, all right, you might look at Ryan Hansen. You're like, man, Rhino's got everything, man. He's got a great family, kids off to school, gets to do a great job, gets to hang out with the goat, all of that. But I do wonder, Ryan Hansen, do you have Empire flooring though? Could that be a little chink in the Ryan Hansen armor?
Oh, that is a chink. I need to look into this.
Absolutely. Again, Rhino, now you might say not everybody is perfect. This is proving it
There you
right
go.
here. All right. Now you could say, where can I find this? Well, thanks for asking. Schedule a free in-home estimate today and a $350 off discount when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Rhino, I'm telling you, right there within your office, with Empire flooring, you could hear the clacks. Everything would take it to the next level, man.
All right, I'll have
Seriously.
to take that under advisement. I've got Circle K Thirst Buster, Del Taco, Hamburger, and now the Empire Flooring. I'm ready.
That's what we like. That's what we like. Also, one other one here, another plug. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Okay. All right, everybody. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Everybody do the wave. Everybody do the wave. Okay, here's the deal with Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Rhino, have you seen it from when you're on I-10? Have you seen it? It's a nice
100%.
Absolutely. It's got a nice wave and it's a fun, immersive experience. So you could say to yourself, man, I'm going to go hang out with some really cool people there. Maybe Ryan Hansen's there. Maybe the GOAT. Maybe Brody Dryden would be there. All 6'11" of Brody Dryden. Who knows? You can't miss Brody if he is there. So, but it's a fun, immersive experience. Check it out. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You can find all kinds of really good stuff there. And like I said, the best part about it is that earn an entry for a Ferrari Fortunes every Friday. Listen to this. Oh, Ryan Hansen in a Ferrari. Can you kid? You kid me, man? Woo-hoo. All right, but either way, here's what you do with the Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You just get you can get in there, and the great thing about it too is you can just sign up for it. And the best part about it is at 7 p.m., winners are drawn for cash prizes and free bonus play. The grand finale will take place on November 1st. Your Wild Horse Pass for one lucky winner will win a Ferrari 488 GTB. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Okay, all right, Carter Bryant. Um, his first of all, I always want to say this story. He comes from Carter Bryant, and Carter Bryant's pops gets it. Deshaun is we had him on the show, and keep in mind, this is a guy that played high level basketball. His brother was a McDonald's All American. You can tell that Carter was trained well by his parents. And I asked him, I said, do you view Carter as a 1 year player, a 2 year player? And he said, honestly, he said, I don't think about it like that. He might be a no year player. He might be a 1 or a 2 year player. When we signed him over to Tommy Lloyd, we're going to trust Tommy Lloyd's eval on that. In this day and age, with McDonald's All Americans, with like a lot of times there's a lot of different aspects in play. It was just such a refreshing quote. And this kid's going to make, barring injury, this kid's going to make a lot of money, man. He's got it. And that mid range already at that size, he's a problem.
Yeah, he's the real deal. And when you read 6'8", if you haven't seen him in person, you always wonder that freshman, is he really
Yeah,
6'8" or is he 6'6" and wearing
right.
shoes that give him lifts? He's legitimately 6'8". He
Yeah.
is big. He's not thin. He is skilled. I love that pull-up jump shot. He's demonstrated he can knock down the three. I don't think he's going to be a knockdown shooter yet
Mhm.
with when size and quickness and better defenses are on him. But there's two things I love all the physical tools. B, what you just said about his mentality, you can see it in how he
Mhm.
carries himself on the floor with his teammates, coming off the bench for the first time in his career, in his life. He's probably never not started even in Pee Wee basketball. I'm sure he started every game of his life. It's going to be a transition for him, but he appears to have the mental ability to do that. And I think that's even better for his long-term development. Less pressure coming off the bench, not going to be worried about getting his 12 and 15 shots up because he's in the starting lineup and he's got to score. Coming off the bench, he can size up the game, learn from his experienced teammates. But his upside is high. And when you are bringing NBA legit talent off of the bench,
Yes.
that shows depth. It shows the ability that you do have a legitimate team to make a big run when a guy like Carter Bryant, who's versatile and over the course of his career, when we watch him in January and February, it's the old famous phrase, he's going to be a different player than he is this coming Monday night in all the right ways. He could have some of those nights where he's the best player on the floor. I don't see it consistently through the season. That's elite
Right.
level freshmen that are very very rare.
Right.
But he's going to be a guy that's going to win you games because of his ability to rebound. He actually has shown me he cares about defense.
Yes.
I
Yes.
love that. He's already
Yeah.
started with that mentality. He is a very exciting prospect.
There's always something to me when you see a player that just comes in here and is highly regarded and they're just kind of stoic in their demeanor. It's always something I find next level impressive. Not that you can't be, the rah rah. There's nothing wrong with that. But I always think back to Mike Bibby. Like I remember watching Mike Bibby when he's at Shadow Mountain. And this, keep in mind, this is in the era with the Allen Iversons and the Stephon Marburys. And the first time I'm watching him, I'm expecting him to cross people up and dunk and then get in their face, this and that. And there was none of that. There was no
Right.
emotion. It was just going right down the court after I just beat you. There's a little bit of that with the Carter Bryant. Again, it's not Mike Bibby. That's not what I'm saying. But it just looks like, yeah, I'm here. I expect to be here and I expect to play well because I've prepared myself and I've trained for this moment. It's a rare quality when you get somebody like that. And however long he's here, I think people are going to really enjoy watching him.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. He comes from great stock. He's been taught to focus and value the right things. At least it appears early.
Yeah.
Come January and February, if he's still not starting, which who knows how his development's going to go. I hope and I believe he will be this way, but it's going to be critical for Arizona's chemistry if Carter continues to bring it and he's the first guy off the bench. If he's the sixth, seventh
Yeah.
man, that will help Arizona. He's going to get his minutes. I hope he realizes that, and I'm sure his dad talks about that. It's not about who starts.
Right.
He's gonna find his 20 plus minutes a game, and with certain matchups, it might be more. Depending on who you play and the rotations and how it all works, I could see him playing anywhere that 3 or 4 spot, and you slide over, he could be the 4 man depending on who your 5 is with Mo Krivas or Tobe Awaka or even Henri.
Right.
It's a really unique chess piece matchup options for Tommy, which I think when you talked about this potentially being Tommy's best team, I think that may be where I go with it. Not just the depth, but just the pieces that he has, it appears to be able to maneuver. And it remains to be seen. I don't want to go to the this is going to be Tommy's best team prediction. It's just that's a lot of weight
Leave
on
that
a
to a
group of
nerd like
guys.
me. Leave that to a nerd like me in my
I it's
podcasting from my
all
guest room.
you do that, which is fine. I've just learned over the years. There's when you step back at this time of the year, every year, you're like, "Ooh, I'm intrigued by this young guy named Michael Dickerson. He looks pretty exciting."
Yeah.
Or man, Stanley Johnson looks like that guy's going to be a difference maker. And in most cases, the 2 that I dropped, they were difference
I was
makers.
going to say,
But
well, yeah, Mike D. Hey, let me ask you this: when you first saw Mike D as a fresh, when you first saw Mike D, then when he came in there, obviously he comes off the bench the first 2 years. That second year, he makes a jump. Did you know though that you were looking at somebody that, barring injury, could probably be a 17 to 20 point per game NBA guy? Was it that natural? Because I still referee his basketball games at the Sporting Chance.
yep,
Rhino, he can still dunk just as and it's not like he's training and stuff, but he can still dunk flat footed. He still looks, I mean, he's still got that Mike D body. What did he look like when you first saw him? And what were your
he
initial
was he
thoughts?
was a little thin at when he first came to campus, but his spring, right? Talk about maybe, and I'm talking like Sean Elliott, Chris Mills level,
Oh, the first step.
maybe the quickest first step we've seen in Arizona's modern
Agreed.
basketball run, and his flick, like his
Hmm.
quick 3-point release, he had it early. It was just getting the experience that he needed, and he was behind Corey Williams and Reggie and Joe McClain, so a lot of experience in
Right.
front of him his first couple of years. So that was the only reason he wasn't on the floor. But yeah, you could see he had the potential if he put the work in, that he was going to be great. And his off court, he let
Mm.
his off court handling of life was good. He
Yeah.
was did not have those distractions. So you knew going in to his freshman, sophomore, junior year that if he just put in the work and stayed healthy, that's the only reason he's not one of the all-time NBA greats is because of his
Right.
health. He was special.
Oh, so let me tell you a funny story. So there were these kids that would because when Mike D walks into a gym, even at what 50 now or 48, whatever he is, he still looks like you can just tell that guy probably played. So I was telling a couple kids, these guys were probably like 22, 23 years old. I said, that guy played in the NBA and averaged 19 per game. And they didn't believe me because, well, whatever. They're like, oh, basketball in the 90s, did that even exist? So one of the kids went up to him and he said, did you ever play against Kobe Bryant? And he chuckles and he said, yeah, I played against Kobe. And then he said, well, did he eat you alive? And he said, no, I actually had 32 on him. Kid went back and looked it up, and lo and behold, and I said,
Facts.
I'm telling you, you got to listen, respect the architects, my friend, respect the
Facts. That's right.
architects. Yeah. You know what else he did really well? I love that two dribble pull up where he got to the elbow and he just raised up every single time and you just couldn't stop it. It was amazing.
That's,
Just,
you look at what Arizona has right now in that same position, right? So I'll
yeah.
look at KJ and Carter. That's the evolution, becoming that three-level scorer. And Mike D is a great example. Richard Jefferson developed it. Sean Elliott started it. Judd Bushler, was
Mhm.
perfected it. Chris Mills. You look at Arizona's three, man, the elite level guys had the ability to use their athleticism, quick first step, stop and pop at the elbow and rise up. And Carter, when I think of his size,
Yeah.
if he can develop a reliable, consistent one or two dribble pull up, it's there. You can see it now. I'm just saying against elite level defensive prowess. That is a very difficult shot to stop and something that I prefer over the step back three.
Yeah.
Give me a two dribble pull up. That's a lost shot in the game of basketball from a value standpoint for the fan and the viewer. But boy, coaches love that 15-foot jumper, high percentage, great look.
Well, because most college kids aren't good enough to make the step back three consistently. I mean, there's a reason
It's
they're in
true.
college. Either if they're in college a lot of times because they're not NBA or they're too young. I mean, this is, that's something that's just a lot of times they're just not good enough at that stage. Whereas if you have something going to the basket and then pulling up, it makes it a lot easier. Now, I want to ask you let's talk about Anthony Dell'Orso. Dell'Orso is fascinating to me because I believe there's two kinds of shooters. There's the shooter that you look at it and they shoot 40%, but if they miss a shot and the ball is knocked back to them, they might not shoot it again. They might pass it. This is not that. This guy is hunting his shots. He is looking to score when he comes in, and that to me is a different kind of shooter. The one that hunts his shots. He's hunting his shots. I'm excited to watch it, man.
He could be a difference maker from the shooting standpoint. He's a shot maker, and I loved how
Yeah.
you phrased it. He hunts his shots. He's not
Yeah.
just waiting for the wide open look, and he is intriguing. That I will be very interested to see how Tommy utilizes him.
Agreed.
And when you look, and not a knock, but just defensively, can Arizona deploy the same scheme with Anthony Dell'Orso at the
Right.
three or the two as they would with Caleb and KJ at that same spots? Can we still blitz on ball screens? Can we switch everything on the perimeter? Can we push up and really get into the airspace of shooters and make guys have to make basketball plays with Anthony on the floor? There's a couple comparisons a lot of people love to make, partly because of his skin tone, but also his skill level. They look at either Pella Larson or they look at Paulius Morauskas because of the international feel
Right.
and the shooter. The
Right.
big difference between Paulius and Anthony is Anthony has played college basketball. He's
Right.
played a number of years. He's been forced to guard athletic United States level talent.
Right.
Unlike Paulius last year, who that was all new to him. So I think Tommy's going to feel more comfortable deploying a Dell'Orso early and often in the non-conference to let him find his way in the Arizona rotation. But I hope that Tommy gives him the time that he needs to showcase not only his shooting ability, but he could be a high level IQ player as well. Murph has talked to you and to me as well.
Hmm.
He's I think an unheralded passer at his size for the Wildcats. He could be an additional facilitator.
Yeah, you know what he is? He's one of those really good secondary facilitators. You don't want him bringing the
Mhm.
ball up the court necessarily,
Correct.
although I guess you can. But if you get the ball in the wing, he makes a couple dribbles. He's going to be able to see a guy cutting. Passing comes naturally to him, and I think that's what's kind of exciting about this. So, yes, we will see. Now, let's say if we, Kev, if we could pull up the roster here and just kind of look at these physical dimensions. This is what I love, Rhino. This is meant for the Big 12. 6'4", 205, 6'3", 200, 6'6", 235, 6'4", 210, 6'6", 190. Then you just keep going on and on down the list. This is a big team. This is a big physical team, and there's going to be the night in, night out grind. I think is really going to fit this team well with all the size and the productive size that they have as well.
Yeah, you need it in the Big 12, but let's be honest. You need it in college basketball.
Yeah.
This arguably could have been Arizona's downfall the last couple of years. And when you look at who has knocked out Arizona in under Tommy Lloyd, or who it was, difficult matchups even. Well, so Houston knocks you out. That's a pretty good sized team. Clemson had some beef eaters. The
Right.
TCU game, Tommy's first year, that second round that we barely squeaked out of, they were broad, athletic, Big 12 team.
Hmm.
Princeton notwithstanding, they did their thing. Whatever, we'll put that one in the rearview mirror. But when I look at teams that could give you difficult matchup challenges in the tournament, it looks like this team is better suited or best suited to match up against that level and type of team.
What I also like too is come March. I mean, Tommy runs a free flowing style. That's one of the things I love. I mean, it's a little different, but it feels very much like Loot. When you thought of Loot, you thought of him letting guys go up and down. It just feels kind of like that. But I think with that, it helps if you've got guys come March when things slow down that can get to the basket, that can get their own. I'm excited about that with this team because we've talked about Caleb Love. I believe Jaden Bradley can do that. Jaden Bradley showed that. I mean, heck, against Dayton, against Clemson, he was the one that was keeping Arizona in that game. I think Townsend can do that as well. I think when you look at some of the teams that have struggled come March, and let's use the Princeton one for an example, you didn't really have guys that could make plays off the bounce in one-on-one when the shot clock's going down, whether it was a Kerr, whether it was a Ramey, Tabellis, but, that was kind of a different situation entirely. This team's got that. This team's got multiple guys that can stress you at the end of the clock. And that's where I think this is going to be something that we haven't necessarily seen before.
Yeah, and you left off. We talked about it earlier, but Mo Krivas could be a
Yeah.
guy that could get his own in the post. You don't have
Yeah.
to have him standing in front of the rim to be able to finish his back to the basket ability. So you add all of that up, and you have to have guys that can get their own shot, that in that free flow. And that was a hallmark of Lute's teams, right? I think under Lute, when he finally the last few years, I believe we had 6 play calls. That's it.
Right.
We had fist, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. Now there were variations, but what the beauty of Lute did, and I see a lot of Tommy, of Lute in Tommy in this way, is teaching guys how to play, not just the plays.
Right.
And those 6 plays that Lute ran, there were variations off of every one of them, and all depended upon what? How the defense defended you. What did they
Exactly.
do? And so it allowed you as a player to know I have options. I've got counters to the counters to the counters. If a defender's going to come over the top of the screen, I'm going to treat it with a curl. If he's going to cut through the screen, I'm going to flare to the corner on every one of these plays. So if you were an outside observer and didn't know basketball, you'd be like, wow, look at all the plays they're running. It's the
Right.
same 6 plays with variations. Tommy has that. That's in his mindset in regards to teaching guys how to play. He's got high level IQ guys. He's got experience And in college basketball, experience right now is king. It's not just about elite level young talent. That was a few
Right.
years back. You need the elite level young talent to complement the experienced guys that can adjust to how a defense is playing you.
You know what I like about Tommy, and I think this is underrated? Tommy likes life. I think that's just cool. Tommy likes coaching college basketball. He has a good time. He'll go out from time to time. Honestly, Arizona's perfect for Tommy, and I think Tommy is perfect for Arizona. And I always tell people this. We are beyond lucky to have this guy because he's just such a seamless fit in this community.
Yeah, he is the perfect fit in regards to community, style of play, West Coast,
Hmm.
but yet values winning, right?
Right.
And the Tucson community values winning. They love Arizona basketball when it's at its height. Tommy does have some things to continue to grow on, right? How to
No doubt.
utilize his bench more effectively, and how to win close games with the talent that he has and putting the right pieces in the right places. Because you could argue, I mean, you look, Arizona's not been blown out in any NCAA tournament loss. It's been close
Right.
games. They've been in those games. How do you get over the hump? I think it's a matter of time. You mentioned this earlier, and it's not an excuse. It's not a, oh, well, we'll live with it. But Tommy is in his fourth year of head coaching. There is a
Hmm.
difference in that 18-inch move from associate head coach or assistant to the head coach. And whenever you draw comparisons of Arizona's head coaches of the past,
Right.
Lute Olson was never an assistant. I don't know if you knew that. He
I did
never
know that.
ever
Yeah, it's
was an
amazing.
assistant coach. So, and when if you knew him, it makes sense. Like
Right.
his personality was never to be an assistant.
Lute was an
Sean
alpha.
Miller had been a head coach for a number of years before he came to Arizona. There is a learning curve, and I think Tommy's grown in that, and I'm excited to see the fruits of his growth as
And
well.
I think people also got to remember too, and I think sometimes another thing. And again I always say this. I think Tommy's A plus. I want him to be here longer than I'm alive. Although I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't. I want to live a long time as well. But
Yeah,
and another thing, you got to look at where he was at Gonzaga. And it was the good cop, bad cop type thing with Mark Few. Mark Few was the guy that was always getting on you, and Tommy was also. I mean, Tommy would get on you, but so when people are like, well, why isn't he lighting into somebody, or why is he bent? I think player accountability is probably something to continue to work on. But again, if he was in year 24 and I was having that question, I would just say, it's probably just who he is. Again, he's very early on this journey. He's
yeah,
very
and make no
early on.
mistake, if you don't see him explode on the sideline after a guy, first of all, it's 2024, 2025
Yeah,
basketball in
right.
college. That those days are over, right?
Correct.
You got kids don't want to be undressed
Right.
on the sideline because their coach is going after them. But make no mistake, Tommy has high accountability for these guys. He does get after them. He's just, I think, super intelligent with how he goes about it and where and when he does it. He's not perfect, right? Let's not gloss over his growth opportunities, but
Mhm.
he's perfect for Arizona right now, and long term. I agree with you. I don't want anybody else for so many reasons with Tommy Lloyd at the helm.
Well, think about it this way, and this is because every single year, and Lute had to deal with this too. They're like, I don't want another coach. We got bounced early, and if we could just see those results real quick, Kevin, that'd be great. But you look at it, and again, couple Sweet 16 in the first round loss. But here's always what I tell people, Rhino: if Tommy Lloyd was on the open market, there was how many coaches would anybody want for the next 15 years? I could think of maybe two or three, maybe Danny
Right.
Hurley, a couple others, but Tommy Lloyd would be on that very, very short list. And I think people need to remember that Tommy Lloyd would be in high demand immediately by everybody.
Immediately. There are what 10 schools in the country that are satisfied and happy with their coach more than Tommy,
Yes,
probably.
right,
Maybe a dozen, depending on there's some legacy guys that wouldn't want
correct.
to take over him. He is very well respected in the coaching ranks. And that graphic that you put up, what's interesting is I've thought about this. If you reverse the order of some of those seasons, maybe some of the local fans that are disenfranchised because of the early round losses would feel differently, right? So if Princeton
Agree.
was year one, and Houston was year two, and Clemson was year three, you would be like, oh my gosh, he's building, it's growing. he came out of the gates so incredibly strong in that
Right.
first season that it raised the expectations so, beyond even what Arizona fans typically have it at, because he came out so well, and
Yes.
utilized the holdovers from Sean Miller's roster, and really elevated them to new heights
He
and
maximized those.
capitalized it early. Yeah. Oh,
He
he
met.
maxed Christian Coloco. I think he really. I'm telling you this: Ben Matherin had it in him. Let's not lose sight of that. He
Mhm.
was destined to be an NBA player. I think Tommy Lloyd's 1 year with him catapulted him. I think he was
You
an
know,
incredible catalyst for Ben Matherin.
I'll even talk about another guy who didn't put up massive numbers, but I thought he also figured out how to use Dalen Terry. I think there was this
Agreed.
I think there was a thought that, oh well, Dalen Terry can't do this. We just need him to stand in the corner and maybe learn to shoot threes. He realized really quickly that Dalen Terry's got some point forward capabilities,
Yeah.
that he is a very good passer, that he can be somebody. He I think he does an excellent job. And I don't get it when people disagree with this. Well, maybe, but I think he does an excellent job of maximizing the talent that he has had. I mean, we talked about Umar Ballo before. I don't
Yep.
think that he could have gotten anything more out of Umar Ballo. I really don't. I think that he maximized Coloco here. He maximized Ben. I thought he figured out how to use Dalen correctly as well. He did an amazing job. He does an amazing job developing players.
Outside of a Final Four run, I think Keyshawn Johnson's probably pretty thrilled with his one
Yeah,
year at Arizona in regards to his development and opportunity and positioning that he was put into. I think he was an NBA guy when he
right.
got here, but I think that helped him as well.
Okay, now let's on our last segment. We're going to get to Rhino getting to travel into hostile environments. Will they be ready for Rhino? We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, Rhino, have you ever had a neutral?
I have not.
Oh, you should try a neutral. They're very, very
Tell me
tasty, my
why.
friends. Yes, very tasty. Keep it maybe when you're on one of your cross. I want to say cross country touring, but cross world touring. Ryan Hansen, with his lovely wife and family. Maybe get a neutral as well. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. 2024 Anheuser-Busch Neutral flavored vodka and carbonation, St. Louis, Missouri. I got one for you. I bring this up to everybody. I was able to get 3 of them. Can you name? Since 2000, the 4 U of A players from St. Louis, just like neutral.
From St. The four players, well, Caleb Love, one. Let's
Mhm.
start there.
Yep, yep.
Four players since
There's 4.
2000.
Yep, there's 4. I
Leon,
missed one. I was
Lauren Woods.
Lauren Woods, Cardinal Ritter.
Yeah. Oh, the other two are not coming right off the top.
All right. Well, I'll tell you the one that I didn't even think about. Courtney Ramey.
Oh wow, yeah.
But
The
Rhino,
multiple stops got me on that one. Yeah.
you should get the other one though. You got to
Is
get
this
the other one
embarrassing?
here. I No, it's not embarrassing. He was one of the better JUCO players to ever come to Arizona. A
Oh
guy who was kind of a
gosh.
last second thought, but he became Jesse Perry.
Oh wow. Golly, that's a guy, right? Probably unfairly forgotten.
Really, he
Uh,
really is
Undersized, really was unheralded, right? But
tough. But man, 12 and
boy,
8.
you think of the Elite Eight run with that group in 2011,
Yeah,
and you think of Derek Williams. Obviously, Kyle Fogg comes to mind because of especially what he's done in his post college career. But boy, Jesse Perry, unheralded. He
that
was he was a rock for Arizona
that
that
was a
year.
great JUCO find. But again, the 4
Yeah,
people from
wow,
St. Louis, though, that
impressive,
was
impressive.
yeah, exactly. All right, now one other one here. Branded Bills. Branded Bills. Okay, Branded Bills. We have all kinds of really cool hats here. Branded Bills. Be like some of the kids on campus wearing Branded Bills. I had a kid come up to me wearing a Branded Bills the other day and Shea Ray sunglasses.
Hey, not
He
gonna
wasn't
lie, Branded Bills might be one of the fastest growing brands in the market right now. It's new, hot, fresh. Boy, it's very, very fastly growing. It's
as,
exciting.
as the kids would say, is it lit? Or do kids still say lit or no?
I don't even try. I've got a freshman on campus and I don't even try.
Well, I was going to say, well, you gotta ask him to say what are the cool terms now. Yes, exactly. Lit, but either way, Brandon Bills, Ryan Hansen, the great Ryan Hansen, given that. Head to brandonbills.com and use code PHNX for 20% off your first order. I am not cool, but one thing about it is, if I was able to be cool, it would be with a Brandon Bills hat on. Check it out. Okay, Rhino. Got a couple minutes left here. You're going to be going into hostile environments. This is going to be very interesting. What's the travel schedule like? Is it with you and Reg?
I won't be going to as many places as
Right,
Reg
I
does.
figured.
Typically, I'm doing the Battle for Atlantis. Reggie's doing Wisconsin. Beyond that, for the most part, he'll hit most of the Big 12 road games. I might have a few thrown in there. You never know. But I've been to KU. I've been to the old Baylor gym, not their new facility. And those two places were just as advertised. Everything
Hey,
you can imagine.
I was at the Salim game.
Oh, that's incredible to have that on you. Maybe the best
Yeah,
second half regular
easily.
season game I've ever seen.
It was amazing. And you know what's fun, wild about that too? Did you know, Rhino, that Arizona team is the team that has the most weeks ranked number one out of any U of A team ever? Did you know that?
I
The
did,
O3
yeah,
team? Okay.
yeah.
But that was the to see Fog out, to see the people in Fog when we're walking out, what just happened. Because the thing about Salim, and you know this, the thing about Salim, though, is that when Salim hits you, there was just something different about it than every other marksman. It felt like he scored 30 points, and he could score 30 points in 2 minutes. It was just,
Yeah.
and that crowd was just devastated.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
lefty stroke was just such a thing of beauty. It was artwork in motion. And what make that win, right? Not only is it two top five teams in late January that were matched up on that noon tip off on CBS that everybody loved. You retired Paul Pierce's jersey at
Mhm.
halftime. We were down what 20 points at one point
Yeah.
in the first half. So
I think it was like
they
eight going into the half, if I'm not mistaken,
yeah,
6 or 8, something like that.
the avalanche of Fog Allen really hit us square in the mouth. But then the ability to come back and the guys that did it, you know, Hassan had some great plays. Andre had some great plays. Luke was knocking down threes. Jay Gard and Salim
Yeah.
were lethal. It really was poetry in motion in that second half. It's one of my again, my favorite games. That's hard. It's really hard to pick. Some far more impactful, right?
Yeah.
National titles, clinched to go to a Final Four. But winning at Kansas, winning at Duke last year, right? Those are some pretty special ones. But the way in which it came about at KU, got to tell you, that one might be my all-time favorite regular season win for Arizona.
All right, now, so going into the Big 12,
Yeah.
then you've got 5 teams in the preseason top 10.
Mm.
This has never been done before, and I think fans need to understand something here. That if Arizona goes 13-7 in the Big 12, that's okay. Because guess what? You're probably a 2 or 3 seed. Seriously.
Yeah, no doubt. That elite group that we've thrown out there, the KU, Houston, Baylor, Iowa State, very, very tough. But let's not forget, there's some other teams in the top 20 and in the top 30. When you
Yeah.
throw in
Texas
Cincinnati,
Tech,
Texas
Cincinnati's.
Tech's is a tough out. I don't look forward, to many of those games just from I don't want us to lose, but I'm excited about the potential to be sharpened every game. Night in and night out, you got to be ready. You're going to be put in tough game situations. You're going to have adverse conditions, adverse situations, night in and night out, which will absolutely better prepare you for the NCAA tournament. So, as a basketball fan, the move to the Big 12 is a delight. It's going to be great.
Also, the Battle of Atlantis. I will be listening to the radio on this one. That's going to be
Yes.
I'm very
Yes.
excited specifically for this one.
I
Very
know you are
excited.
for maybe not breaking news, but I know why you're excited.
Very excited. Again, I feel like a proud father. Yeah, I'll just leave it at
Yep.
that. But Rhino, you are the man, dude. Basketball is here. I can't thank you enough. Listen, Rhino is an absolute. When you think Tucson when you think of Arizona basketball, Ryan Hansen is on that Mount Rushmore. He is. Don't deny it. You are. If we're not talking players, you are on there. Rhino, you're the man. Very much appreciate you.
Mike, I love being on and got to leave the episode with back the A.
Back the A, baby. Ryan Hansen, also, real quick plug, where can they find you if they're looking to travel to some nice places?
You bet. Bon Voyage Travel, right here in Tucson. Been here for 48 years. bvtravel.com.
All right. For the great Ryan Hansen, I am merely Mike Luke. All the comments, you guys are fantastic. We'll be back with you. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.